Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. Ms. Espinal, I want to go back to something, and I've got some others, but back in October last year, 2014, many of my colleagues, including myself, wrote a letter to the U.S. Trade Representative about the TPP. And just to review, first, we had several things. First, we wanted to include provisions that specifically keep borders open to free flow of data. Second, it must prohibit countries from acquiring the use of local data servers and computing infrastructure as a condition for providing digital service. Third, it must ensure non-discriminatory treatment of digital products and services. Based just on the reports that have come out so far from the administration and others, where do you think we are in that right now?
So again, with the caveat that we have not seen the final text, our understanding is that the TPP has strong commitments on all of those provisions. First, on cross-border data trade, and I'm pushing back on data localization. Obviously, we would like that to be as comprehensive as possible, but our understanding is that overall, the commitments there are strong. Our understanding is that there are prohibitions on imposing custom duties on digital services, which is also important. And our understanding is that, I believe for the first time ever, there are prohibitions on forcing companies to disclose source code in order to compete in a market. Those are all very important to us. And again, based on the reports that we have heard, TPP contains strong and enforceable rules on those in those areas.
And Grant, I think we will see those, and that's part of our whole process. But if that was not there, and probably a short answer is, if these protections were not there, given the new marketplace of the future that we're looking at, that being much more in this realm, the digital realm and other in this crosspoint, would that be a serious hindrance to enactment of this agreement?
If they are, well, I hope and expect that they are there. If they were not there, I think it would be an enormous missed opportunity. We were talking earlier about the fact that this is really the future, not just of the U.S. economy, but of the global economy as a whole. There are also enormous societal benefits that come from data analytics and cloud computing. And in order for us to see the potential of those, it's enormously important that we have a global system of trading rules that gives clarity and predictability to the system.
Thanks. Mr. Atkinson, real quickly, could you please describe for the committee the problem of forced localization and how this impacts member companies and your ability to create American jobs? Mr. Atkinson.
So one of the real advantages the U.S. has is in cloud computing, for example, where we have it's in my testimony, north of 70 or 80%, maybe even more of the global market, partly because we have scale in our own domestic market that's given our companies the ability to scale up and get capabilities. Other countries look at the cloud computing industry as a core strategic industry for their countries, and one of the ways that they're trying to gain market share is by simply saying that you have to store data out, not just in country, but in some cases in country with a domestic company.
Which could present a load of problems on many different levels.
Pardon me?
Could present a load of problems on many different levels.
Even if it's just simply localization to tell an American cloud provider you have to put a server in a country, that essentially raises costs. If it was cost effective, they would have already done it by definition.
Right. Okay.
Not only does it raise costs, but something that people haven't talked about, it has environmental impacts. Cloud computing, by putting it all in one place, you can save a lot of energy, and by requiring servers all over the world. So either way, whether it's forced server localization or domestic company preferences, it's going to hurt U.S. companies and the U.S. economy.
All right. Ms. Adams, I appreciate that. Mr. Black, very forceful in this committee discussing some issues, but I've noticed something. We do read through all of your printed text before you appear. And on page 8 of your written testimony, you seem to want to have it both ways, and I think it's a concern. The first way is you basically say that U.S. Internet intermediary liability and copyright rules discourage investment and growth in domestic startups, yet 2 sentences later in the same paragraph, you say U.S. businesses have thrived domestically under carefully crafted legal framework of U.S. law. Now, you're basically contradicting yourself there. I don't know why you would do that, but I think one of the things that goes back for me is something that I've said in this committee from the day I came on. Strong copyright, strong protective laws are not a barrier, but they're a creative incentive. I believe that the framework that we have here has allowed U.S. Internet businesses to thrive, and they become a growth for your association and for many others that grow this industry. So my question is, why are we presenting what seems to be a false narrative here, on one hand saying that discourages, and on the other hand, 2 sentences later saying it encourages.
Thank you very much for the question. Barriers to international trade data flows are a problem that we all talked about how important the economy of the future is.
Whoa,
We
whoa,
look
whoa, whoa.
at-
Your word says
But,
domestic.
no, we look at what made our society, what in the U.S. law has worked to help build our industry. Part of it is the balanced copyright. We have a very important, well-developed, well-refined system that provides both strong copyright protection and significant limitations and exceptions. That is a key to the health and vitality of what has allowed the Internet to flourish here. We believe it is likewise, and it is appropriate for the U.S. government, as we try to persuade others in the world to have strong copyright, that they also reflect the boundaries and limitations that have proved so important to the ability of the Internet and Internet companies to flourish.
Okay, it's an interesting question. I want to, because it's an interesting answer because it frankly didn't answer my question. Why would you contradict yourself? I understand that you want to say that, but when you said domestically, U.S. is either hindering or it's helping. You can't have it both ways in the same 4 sentences.
Maybe I'm not.
You cannot say the U.S. Internet liability and copyright rules discourage investment and growth in domestic startups, and then 2 sentences later say U.S. Internet businesses have thrived domestically under carefully crafted legal framework in the U.S. Either the legal framework we have here is bad or the legal framework we have here is good. I believe it to be good. I'm not sure why it would be contradictory there.
Would the gentleman yield?
Yes.
If I heard that, Mr. Black, were you saying that the international conundrums are causing problems while the domestic, well-crafted, has allowed us to thrive? Was that what your intent was in that paragraph?
That's correct.
Well, the problem is, and that would be fine if understood, except that the footnote is to a footnote to a domestic,
Right.
thing, which gives you the realization that it was for that. And this isn't something that we've had many meetings on this from different various industries. So I think the biggest thing, the safe way to put this is, I believe that as we look at this is crafted in a well way. We continue to craft our copyright laws. It's going to help us all in this bigger picture and not settling for what is a weaker system in other parts of the world. And I think we can.
Again, I would just suggest weaker is the wrong terminology. A strong system is a balanced one. And just the same way a 3-legged stool versus a 2-legged stool. The fact that you have balance and limitations in your system makes it stronger, not weaker.
No. Mr. Chairman,
I thank the gentleman, and without objection, Mr. Black, if you want to revise it, extend that portion to clarify it, I'm sure the committee would be happy to have that record be full and complete. And with that,